Hello, all. Last night I got to watch the War of the Rohirrim. And so, my initial thoughts, if you just wanted to know should you see it or not, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings or just a fantasy movie or an anime movie, yes. I thought the movie was really good. Giving it a day to stew over, yeah, I still think it holds up from uh, when I just saw it because just getting out of the theater can kind of cloud your judgment a bit, but it also does give you a very fresh perspective. But anyways, yes, a day on, yes, the movie was really, really good. I'd say excellent. It's directed by Kenji Kamiyama, who also directed Eden to the East, one of my favorite anime of all time. I thought generally art style and animation was really beautiful. There were some technical issues, I thought, where some of the animations kind of looked bad and stilted in places and kind of the background, but kind of as the movie went on, it seemed to get a lot better. And the core fight scenes were really, really well done. The fighting choreography was really good, and the character designs, I really liked all of them. So, yeah. Now, my friend Arjun also reviewed the movie, and he liked it a lot as well. And I guess the elephant in the room, or the olifant in the room, the mumakil in the room, is that some people, I guess, in our spheres didn't like it because, or the idea of it because, okay, female protagonist, it's going to be some girl boss, ruin the lore and all of that, which the movie really wasn't that. Or at least any attempts that it was to kind of have that message was done really well. The movie is actually written very well. The plot makes sense. The characters are all well written. The main character, Hera Hammerhand, the son of the King of Rohan at the time, Helm Hammerhand, is a really, really likable character. As you can kind of see from the images, she's shown to be very beautiful. She's very tough. She's a very competent warrior. But what I like is that, unlike what they do with so many modern female protagonists, is her strengths are not from pure physical power. She does not suplex 300-pound men, or she can't do that. But instead, she's very agile. She's very good with her sword, which isn't overly sized. And it makes sense for somebody of her stature. She can't carry around a massive battle axe like her older brothers or father can. So I really like that. If you're worried about I guess anything that you could say is woke in the movie are things that were already established in previous Tolkien works, like the shield maidens of Rohan, the rare occasions in which the women of Rohan will take up arms and fight when the men have died. That's established in the books, and we were all fine with it when Eowyn did it in the movies and in the books as well. She was the shield maiden of Rohan and took down the Witch King. And again, yeah, Hera does some similar stuff in this movie as well. She saves Rohan. I guess you could say it's kind of bad. Or the most woke thing that happens in the movie is the fact that she decides not to get married and kind of runs off for adventure to meet Gandalf, actually. That's a spoiler, but I think you're expecting that anyway. So, a brief synopsis of the plot is that this takes place about 200 years before the events of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So, at the time, Sauron is still just kind of in hiding, or he's not really doing anything yet. Saruman is still not an evil wizard yet. He only makes a very brief appearance in the movie right at the end, anyways. But what I like about the movie is that it feels very much like a Tolkien story. It feels like it could fit very much within Lord of the Rings or within the history of Middle Earth. But it's focused solely on Rohan. And so the position of Rohan at the time is that the king is Gigachad, King Helm Hammerhand, who has three children, two sons who are Haleth and Hama, and a daughter, Hera. Her mother died in childbirth, and she's just kind of your typical kind of wild and free, tomboyish. She tries to tame an eagle. She's very good at a horse. She's good with the sword. She kind of wants more out of life than just being a princess. The movie feels very much like a Studio Ghibli film. Like I was very much reminded of Princess Mononoke and a lot of that. And that's a good thing because, the Miyazaki movies have very good strong female protagonists, but they at least still feel very feminine. Like Hera is still very caring, she's very kind, but she has a very fierce heart. And yes, she's a very likable character. So it begins with the fact that the King of Rohan's one of his subjects in the Westfold, King Freka, or Lord Freka of the Westlands, which is kind of near where the wild men of Dunland are, and he wants to marry his son Wolf to Hera, which is kind of very easily seen as a play for the throne. And Helm Hammerhand is like, no, I'm not, who my daughter marries isn't your business. You're just trying to make a cheap play for my throne. Get out of here. And then Freka challenges Helm to a fight, which, given his name is Helm Hammerhand, doesn't go well. He actually gets killed after one punch, after which Wolf swears revenge, and after a few years, we learn that he's he's built up an army, and he's occupied Isengard at the time because Saruman isn't there yet. He's gotten a bunch of he's recruited a bunch of mercenaries from, I guess, from Harad, because there's a bunch of Mumakil in the movie, which is really fun. We have fun fight scenes with that. And, he's building up his army. He captures Hera. She escapes. And he leads his army to Edoras, the capital of Rohan. And one of the king's advisors, or one of his allies, has turned traitor. And Hera finds us out and helps evacuate the city before Wolf and his army are able to take it. The king's army is routed. Haleth is killed. Her older brother, Hama, her other older brother, is captured, and they all retreat to Helm's Deep, which at the time is just called the Hornburg. She eventually says its name is Helm's Deep after her father, which I think is a nice touch. But yeah, so they retreat to Helm's Deep. The king is kind of in shock from grief of losing his son, and then Wolf shows up with his other son and kills him in front of him. But, Helm Hammerhand, this is what kind of breaks him. Not the fact that he actually had already taken about 7 arrows. He had been shot with 7 arrows and was able to heal from that. So he's become kind of catatonic, and Wolf and his army have laid siege to Helm's Deep over the winter. And it's a very harsh winter. Both sides lose a lot of men. And it's kind of shown that Wolf is less and less... He doesn't really care so much about taking the throne of Rohan as he is about just revenge. He wants to kill Hera and kill Helm for kind of slighting him. And it's a very Tolkien-esque type of villain where... Tolkien really likes to show good characters twisted and how they can be ruined by lust for power or vengeance or pride. Evil tends to be very petty because over time, even Wolf's most trusted advisor, General Targ, kind of sees the madness and just refuses to do anything and refuses to follow his orders anymore. There's a very good scene in the movie where Edoras was burnt down, and all that's left is kind of the throne at the in the Hall of the King, and he's just sitting there and wearing the crown, but everything around him is in ashes, and he doesn't even care about the kingdom that he supposedly wants. So it's a very well set up villain. So he lays siege, and then it's kind of shown that Helm Hammerhand has disappeared. His body's disappeared. And there's now rumors from the enemy camp that he's basically turned into a wraith from all of his grief, and that he's just unarmed, just with his fists, killing the soldiers of Wolf's soldiers one by one. They're getting terrified, and eventually Hera discovers a secret passage outside of Helm's Deep. And which is essentially the pass through the mountains that they originally were going to have the civilians take in the movies, in the Lord of the Rings movies, when they thought that the Battle of Helm's Deep was lost. But anyways, the she finds her way to her father, who is able to single-handedly take on two orcs who are starting to look for rings among the dead, which is kind of the hint, or the, I guess, fan service for the upcoming plot of Lord of the Rings itself. And they're actually, funnily enough, voiced by Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan, who voiced Merry and Pippin. But anyways, so Helm Hammerhand, showing even more of how much of a badass he is, single-handedly, or almost single-handedly, takes on a troll with his bare fists, but Hera helps save his life by stabbing the troll in the eye. And he kind of has to lead her back, because I guess the passage is only one way. So he leads her back to the gate of Helm's Deep, which over the winter has completely frozen solid, and they can't get it open. But again, because he's so strong, Helm opens the door by himself, this massive door that's been frozen shut, but he just lets Hera in and kind of stands by and makes a heroic last stand and kills about 50 men single-handedly. And even then, after the night is over, his dead body, he has not fallen. He's still standing, and he's just frozen. So now Hera has to take control of and take care of the people of Rohan, or the Rohirrim. Wolf is becoming increasingly crazy. They're building a big siege tower to try and breach the wall. And she decides that because the other lords of Rohan, including her cousin, his cousin's name is Freylaf, is amassing an army in Dunharrow to aid the king, but because of his pride, Helm decided not to, let him in on and aid him, because he questioned his orders. But she's manages to send an eagle. So that kind of pays off. She's able to request the help of one of the eagles, and to send help for his army. Now, what I like is that, well, yes, this is a battle at Helm's Deep. It doesn't. They knew that they couldn't just do another Battle of Helm's Deep, because you can't do that justice unless you're Peter Jackson, for the movie. But instead, it's a prolonged siege. People are cold and hungry. And then Hera, I keep wanting to call her Freya, I don't know why, but Hera is able to convince. She's going to have the people of Helm's Deep leave through the mountain pass while she distracts Wolf and his army by challenging him to single combat, because I think she knows that, he's so prideful he'll fall for it. So, she as the taking up her mantle as a shield maiden of Rohan, fights him in the kind of climactic fight or duel. She's able to win. Or she tries to make him agree to terms that if she wins, he'll back down and leave, and she does. But of course, being as prideful and as petty as he is, he takes out a dagger and tries to kill her, but she manages to kill him. Just in time, her cousin Freylaf and his army ride in under the moonlight, not the sunlight, so it's different from the two towers, and save the day. But she kind of orders them to not massacre the rest of the Dunlendings or wild men, because enough blood's been spilled, which makes sense, because again, she does still have mercy, because these aren't orcs, these are actually still humans. But the day's been won, and instead of becoming queen, Freylaf becomes the new king of Rohan, so it's her cousin, and she just kind of rides off to adventure for the rest of her days. Now, we also just see a bit of a cameo by Saruman, who I thought they were going to use AI for his voice. I thought that's what it was, but no, it was archival footage of Christopher Lee just kind of saying, "I'm here to serve the king." So it was still his voice, so I'm okay with that. And then the movie ends. But yeah, I thought it was paced pretty well. The characters were likable. as you can kind of see, all the characters actually look European. You don't have this weird, forced diversity like they do in everything now. The Dunlendings and Wolf, and even although her cousin Freylof, they do have darker skin and darker hair, but I'm okay with that because they're from a different part of Middle Earth, so that makes sense. But yeah, no, I thought the movie was really good. Some of the animation wasn't great in aspects, but in other parts it was really well done. It reminded me of like the closest you can get to if Hayao Miyazaki directed a Lord of the Rings movie. So I think what I really liked is it definitely felt very Tolkien. There were songs, of course. You have the kind of lament that Eowyn sings when her brother dies in Lord of the Rings, so they kind of bring that back. There's a lot of kind of playing with the motifs from the movies as well, because the soundtrack of Lord of the Rings is amazing. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. Um, yeah, it was a very, very good movie. Not woke, really at all, because again, you can be upset that Hera doesn't go off and get married, but neither did Bilbo or Frodo. So nothing in the movie that you could say is woke isn't something that was already established in Lord of the Rings anyway. So Hera, best girl. Helm Hammerhand is a Chad. Yeah, so really good movie. Take care.